Chapter 26. The number 7, continued. The number of perfection. When thou hast passed into the 7th stage, O happy one, thou shalt perceive no more the sacred 3. They have become one star, the fire that burns, but scorches not, that fire which is the eupity of the flame, the voice of the silence, Blavatsky, 19-20. In considering number 7 in its aspect of completeness and perfection, we find that the Hebrew word for 7 is composed of the 3 letters SBO and has many interpretations, but all are connected with the fundamental idea of completeness and satisfied abundance. It means age or cycle, hence Sabbath is the rest of old age or the completion of the life cycle. It is connected with the gray-headed, and the 7th or Sabbath day is presided over by Saturn, who is represented as an old man, Cronus, or Father Time. In the Greek, the word for 7 is septos, from the verb sebo, to venerate. The 3 periods which complete man's life are composed of 3, 4, and 3 groups of 7 years each. Thus, youth extends 3 times 7 is equal to 21 YRS. Prime extends 4 times 7 is equal to 28 YRS. Age extends 3 times 7 is equal to 21 YRS. Total 7 times 10 is equal to 70 YRS. Or the biblical threescore and 10, or 3 times 20 plus 10 is equal to 70 years. During the first half of a man's life, the first 5 periods of 7 years each, the fiery lives, the 7th and highest subdivision of the plane of matter, are directly engaged in a process of building up man's material body. Life is on the ascending scale, and the force is used in construction and increase. After this period is past, the age of retrogression commences, and, the work of the fiery lives exhausting their strength, the work of destruction and decrease also commences. Number 7 is complete and sacred because it is composed of the triad, 3, and the tetrad, 4, or God and nature, combined in man. Pythagoras says number 7 has a body composed of the 4 principles and a soul composed of 3 principles. 3 as the number of light is wedded to 4, the number of life, and 3 as the number of spirit is wedded to 4 as the number of matter, and these 2 couples are both combined in 7. Again, 3 is spiritual and divine, while 4 is physical and human. Hence, man as 7 is both human and divine, the overshadowed and protected by the A. In number 5, the one God descends into the midst of the pairs of opposites of humanity, thus 2-1-2. But in number 7, the Divine Trinity has unfolded its triple aspect within the 2 pairs, thus 2-3-2. The effect of which is to transmute the mundane 2s into divine 3s, thus 3-1-3, or has perfected the work begun in number 5 as 2-1-2. That 7 is an expression of perfection is also shown by the fact that the sum of the first 7 digits equals 10, thus 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 4-7 equals 28 equals 10. The number 7, says the Kabbalah, is the great number of the divine mysteries. 2, according to Cornelius Agrippa, 7, being the sum of the primary numbers, is the diameter of all number. A diameter of 7 has a circumference, in whole numbers, of 22. The action of life is a dividing of this circumference of 22 by its diameter of 7, resulting as 3.142857, 1428570, the residuum eternally repeating 142857. Hence, By reason of these properties of 7, to numerically interpret infinite nature is to divide its number by 7. This gives us, again, the number of infinite evolution, 142857, 142857, 142857 to infinity. It requires 7 members to form a Freemason's lodge, thus symbolizing that man to be the master man must manifest number 7. While he can hold a lodge, i.e., can be a man and live his life as a 5-fold being, yet he must always remember that this is but a stage of growth, a place of incompleteness, and that he must ultimately prepare and add 2 more members, senses and powers, to his lodge, ere he can be a true Mason. The Knights of Kadosh symbolize the Masonic ideals of the relations between God and man by a double ladder having 7 steps of ascent and 7 steps of descent. The former are called Ohad Eloah, or love of God, while the latter are termed Oheb Karaho, or love of thy neighbor. These symbolize that to give true brotherly love to your neighbor you must first ascend in love to God. Just as the truths of the wisdom religion have been preserved through the Dark Ages and a game of cards, the tarot, from which our playing cards were derived, so has the importance and fortunate nature of number 7 been handed down from the days of the Chaldeans and the game of dice, the opposite sides of which always add up to 7. Thus, 1 is opposite to 6, 2 is opposite to 5, and 3 is opposite to 4. The method of calculating cycles in the Bible is by systems of weeks, weeks of days, weeks of years, etc. From the Goths' names for the 7 planetary deities we derive our names for the days of the week, thus, the sun's day, Sunday, the moon's day, Monday, Tuesco's day, Tuesday, Wotan's, Mercury's day, Wednesday, Thor's, Jupiter's day, Thursday, Phrygia's, Venus' day, Friday, Ceres, Saturn's day, Saturday. The Zuni Indians built their villages in clusters of 6 teepees surrounding a 7th. Their mystic sacerdotal gatherings were composed of 6 priests of the house who drew their inspiration from a 7th who was always a woman called the priestess mother. While officiating at their annual festivals, each was arrayed in a robe of the color sacred to one of the 7 sacred planets, and when so robed each was considered to be the representative of the planetary deity whose color he wore, hence gave his judgments as from that deity. These priests received an annual tribute of corn of 7 colors from the members of the tribe. For the city of Thebes had 7 gates built by Amphion. The most famous monument of ancient Thebes was the outer wall with its 7 gates. Even as late as the 6th century BC, it was probably the largest of artificial Greek fortresses. The 7 gates of Thebes, attacked and defended by 7 chiefs who have sworn upon the blood of victims, possess the same significance as the 7 seals of the sacred book interpreted by the 7 genii, and assailed by a monster with 7 heads. Westcott calls attention to the fact that the number 7 was curiously related to H.P. Blavatsky and the Theosophical Society. Lucifer was first published in 1887, and 1887 is the sum of 1700s, 1710s, and 17 units. HPB lived at 17 Lansdowne Road and 17 Avenue Road. Lucifer was published at 7 Duke Street. 7 volumes were completed at her death. Colonel Alcott first met her at 7 Beckman Street, and later at 71 Broadway, New York. Anna Kingsford was elected president first of the London T.S. Lodge in 1877, and the third volume of The Secret Doctrine was published in 1897 after her death. Besides the passages already quoted, both the Old and the New Testaments are filled with references to the number 7, which show the great regard in which it was held in Israel. These again exhibit the fundamental idea of completion, rounding out, also, the binding and unalterable nature of a thing repeated 7 times. Thus Naaman was told to dip 7 times in the river Jordan to be cleansed of his leprosy. This is a symbol of the potency of number 7 in evolution, for only as man has dipped at least 7 times into the stream of life, which like the river Jordan is muddy and turbulent, and has cleansed himself from all loathsome carnalities, can he emerge as conqueror and be ready to pass on through number 8 to his great initiation in number 9. Noah was commanded to take into the ark of all clean beasts by 7s, and of the unclean by pairs. The clean beasts were those used for food, and as food is the material from which the tissues and energies of the body are elaborated, it is naturally ruled by 7. The unclean beasts not used for food refer to mundane forces which are ruled by the pairs of opposites. In the tabernacle, a golden candlestick with 7 branches was a notable feature. This again symbolizes man with the fires in his 7 sacred centers lighted, each of which must emit the flame of divine love ere his tabernacle, body, is a fit dwelling place for the holy presence. Abraham made a covenant with Abimelech by presenting him with 7 ewe lambs, thus making the covenant complete and binding. Jacob served 7 years for Rachel, was deceived with Leah, and served yet 7 other years for Rachel. Pharaoh dreamed of 7 well-favored kine and fat-fleshed, and of 7 ill-favored and lean-fleshed kine that did eat up the 7 well-favored and fat kine. He also dreamed of 7 ears of corn upon one stalk, and 7 thin and blasted ears which devoured the full ears. Both of these dreams Joseph correctly interpreted as 7 years of plenty followed by 7 years of famine. There were 7 days of unleavened bread, and 7 Sabbaths were ordained. The children of Israel followed 7 priests blowing 7 trumpets for 7 days in their march around the city of Jericho, and on the last day encompassed the city 7 times ere its walls fell. Wisdom buildeth her house out of 7 pillars. There are 7 gifts of the Spirit mentioned by Isaiah as follows: wisdom, understanding, counsel, might, knowledge, fear, awe of the Lord, law, and righteous judgment. In the New Testament, as we have pointed out elsewhere, the man upon the cross spoke 7 sentences symbolizing the 7 steps of initiation. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Today shalt thou be with me in paradise. Woman, behold thy son. My God, why hast thou forsaken me? I thirst. It is finished. Father, into thy hands I commend my spirit. Man has his 7 principles, each of which is derived from and ruled over by one of these 7 planetary angels, called by St. John the angels of the 7 churches. Also, you have the 7 angelic planes, whose host collectively are the gods thereof. 8 man and nature are akin, and while each man contains emanations from all the 7 creative rays manifested through his 7 principles, still in each man one influence or ray predominates. This fact naturally divides mankind into 7 main classes of thought, designated by St. John, as we indicated in a previous lesson, as the 7 churches. These 7 great modes of viewing truth are subdivided ad libitum. The many subdivisions agree with the manifold character of the planetary influences, which vary with each hour of the day. This idea of the sevenfold division of the universe is esoterically represented in Revelation by the 7 churches which are in Asia. These were at Ephesus, Smyrna, Pergamos, Thyatira, Sardis, Philadelphia, and Laodicea. These names were made use of more to illustrate the inner truth than as applying to the historical cities, although the churches in those cities may have manifested the types of thought indicated, just as Wall Street in New York is used to symbolize the power of money. The inner truth so symbolized has, of course, 7 keys by which it can be read, one interpretation being that the 7 churches refer to the 7 principal ganglia or centers of the human nervous system, another to the 7 steps of initiation. A church signifies an aggregation of people of similar thought, and here we find all humanity divided into 7 great classes or types called churches. The words which are in Asia are merely an euphonious blind, for we find that these 7 churches or types of humanity have existed in various parts of the world for ages. And they always will exist, for, as we have shown in the lesson on evolution, mankind is the progeny or emanation from 7 great creators, or, as the Bible terms them, the Elohim. And as we showed in that same lesson, all mankind are emanations from one of these 7 great spiritual progenitors, or, as St. John terms them, the 7 spirits which stood before his throne. This throne, which is spoken of later on 13 as a great white throne, is the perfect white light of the divine into which all its manifestations, rays, are ultimately indrawn and enthroned. Hence, of necessity, there must be in the world 7 distinct classes of religious thought, each trying to manifest the characteristics of the ray of which it is an expression. Not only have there been, since the world began, 7 representative schools of thought, first under one name and then, as times change, under another, but every child is born with a type of mind over which the influence of one of these great rays predominates. Therefore, to confine the 7 churches to the handful of apostolic adherents in the historical cities whose names are mentioned is to lose the universal significance of the revelation. The 7 golden candlesticks which St. John saw symbolized the outer garments or the physical vehicles or methods by which the 7 manifestations of the light of truth are placed before man. The 7 candles symbolized the 7 different types of teaching which the 7 candlesticks, churches, uphold before the world, and by which the flame or spiritual light is given to humanity. The light in all cases being identical, although produced by different candles.